All right, you can go.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, class. Today we will be presenting Chapter 7, Teams and Groups. Our team consists of myself, Prashant Singh, and my member, Alia Amisha Ali. So, Teams and Groups. The contents for this chapter is the characteristics of groups, the way groups develop and its dynamics amongst group members, concepts of teamwork and collaboration in group work, applications of the relational leadership model. I'll now pass you on to Alea.
So now in your average week, you might experience many types of groups. I'm sure we have all experienced that, like whether might be informal and lightly structured. Some might be very structured, meaning that they are very structured, maybe in your workplace environment, etc. Now, according to Cathart, Samova, and Henman in 1996, they define a group as three or more members interacting and communicating interpersonally over time in order to reach a goal. In helping us to comprehend groups, there are three dimensions: purpose, structure, and time. That will help. Next slide, please. So the first dimension we will look at is purpose. Now, a group might exist for various reasons, ranging from social support groups to highly concentrated task groups to groups such as staff that produces a service or product over time. Now, for an example of a group that will provide a service or product, such as KFC or any sort of franchise that you may purchase food at, they are considered a group of people. A group's aim should result in a creation of structures and procedures. Techniques are also required to help group members to achieve their objectives. Next, we look at next slide, please. All right. Oh, shucks. There's one more point to add to purpose. People establish groups to reap the benefits of its various advantages. Members of a group assist one another in need, work together to achieve goals, share resources, and well, last but not least, give chances for social interactions and encouragement. Slide. All right. Now we move on to purpose structure. Structure refers to the systems that govern how many members of a group interact with one another. Some are highly organized with hierarchical responsibilities or positions. Others are more amorphous and developed. Next slide. Now, in continuing with structure, participants in an informal context share needed duties and in leadership emerges or is present across the group. The positional leader may be accountable in a formal structured setting, but may use a variety of styles ranging from highly autocratic to engaging group members and empowering them through the relational leadership elements. Lastly, we look at time. Now, as we all know, groups exist for various lengths of time. Time that may be from 2 weeks, 2 weeks to a month to a year. Some are continuous, right? The group can be time limited or it can be in an indefinite period of time. As I just mentioned, the group could be a continuing one where it does not have a defined time when it's gonna end. Task forces and ad hoc communities are terms used to describe time-limited groups. The group's duration present a variety of issues that may be presented over time. Time-limited groups must move swiftly build rapport and similar goals, as well as encourage members to be active and focus on their tasks. Ongoing organizations must also deal with members' motivation over time as they may become unmotivated. Now, over time, when you're working with the same people doing maybe different tasks, but you're around the same people all the time, they they might become unmotivated and very lethargic to perform their tasks. So they must develop mechanisms to welcome and also integrate new members and to keep the group focused on its goals while they are adapting to the group. So, with looking at the three dimensions, we should consider these questions. What are the purposes for which the groups were existed? What roles do group members assume? What structures help them accomplish those purposes? How do these groups vary in time commitment? and how does the length of the time change of the dynamics of the relationships. Now we move on to Prashan.
So we will be looking at group development. Okay, so first we'll begin with forming. This is the first step in developing a group. For example, it can be interpreted as your first meeting as a team on a project at Costart. Everyone is friendly and shy, still, which means not much will be accomplished because no rules or dynamics are laid out yet. Most of the times, the leader will assert control over the group and instruct each member of their tasks. During the first pillar in this process, members usually come together to discuss each other's roles, lay down some rules, and set the goals for the group. Not much is completed during this time because this phase is more about setting the ground rules, etc., whereas getting to learn more about your team members. Next is storming. In this phase is where members will clash with each other and all the problems will start to arise. Sometimes it can be due to the lack of communication, which makes it seem that there is a lack of effort from some, which means members of the group will decrease their level of productivity or stop it completely. Some may even go on to question the team goals set previously. It is always a negative effort for any group, but it is certainly better to deal with this problem earlier rather than later in the project. Next is norming. This stage is where we all get along in groups. During this step, members move past previous arguments and truly start to respect their teammates for their positions of leadership within the group. Everyone is comfortable and now able to work together while giving constructive criticism where needed to make the work of the group improve. Not to mention, it is very uncommon for a group to move backward and into the storm. Even if members sometimes slip into their previous behavior, team members are better prepared to deal with these issues and resolve them. Next is performing. This is the best part of the project for its members. The team is performing at the highest level, which brings about a sense of confidence within everyone and a belief in their own skills and abilities. This in turn means no member needs supervision from other members to perform their duties. In the group is all working to get towards their goal free of conflict. According to Helen Keller, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. And finally, adjourning. This is the final step in group development and it is also known as the mourning phase. This is where the team dissolves after completing its project. Members usually feel a sense of loss during this period after they've gotten close to each other and made new friendships. It is quite difficult for them during this time. Next, I'll pass you on back to Aliyah.
So, in terms of the dynamics of a group, now different actions are taken by groups frequently as referred as group dynamics. According to Johnson in 1994, they defined the group dynamics as a study of the group's behavior. The group dynamics involves many three processes such as decision making, conflict resolution, and the provision of leadership requirements. So, recognizing that individuals participate in communication patterns and interact in interactive settings, that may indicate roles they are assuming in groups and is one of the cornerstones of understanding group dynamics. So the first, there are two types of group roles. First one is task roles and group building roles. Task roles concentrate on the group discussion subject matter. The focus of the task roles is on achieving the goals of the group, including exchanging information and ideas, and advancing tasks by summarizing and employing a variety of decision-making techniques. However, um, group roles, these roles promote a sense of community focus on a group as a whole, including interpersonal interactions rather than each person work on their individual task in task that is presented in task rules. Group building rules take care of group processes. Also, the group maintenance jobs is also another name for group building. We also have to take into consideration that in groups there are dysfunctional roles, right, that are played by group members, and this may hinder with how the group performs in the end. As mentioned in the slide, these anti-team responsibilities frequently hinder the team's ability to complete its tasks. A team can go off rails if members are allowed to continue acting out these dysfunctional rules. One of the main terms that they use is the blocker, and it's also to emphasize that these dysfunctional rules, are ones that generally impede on a group's objectives or progress. Now, some of the dysfunctional rules can include the aggressor, the blocker, disruptor, dominator, and Kashan, help seeker, self confessor, self interest pleader. But the most common one that we know is the self blocker. Before we go on to this slide, I would also take to mention to never mistake someone who acts like a clown in the group, and never take someone seriously with this who successfully employs humor, because we all know some sort of humor in a group. They act as sort of relieving tension in a group and to promote peace in a group. Now we look at the types of group roles. So first we have the information seeker. The information seeker usually asks for clarification on comments to ensure that they are factually correct. They also seek information from experts or pertinent facts. They got meaning pertinent or experts. They can go reference it from books or encyclopedias or whatever. Next one is the opinion seeker. They request clarity on the group members' attitudes, values, and opinions, determines whether various ideas are shown. Next, we have the opinion giver, presents their own views and convictions regarding the topic under discussion. People frequently impress their thoughts in terms of what the group should do. Next, we have the summarizer. This person condenses all the nature of the opinions or discussions in a capsule format for clarity. And lastly, for task roles, there's the clarifier who elaborates or explains ideas in new words to add meaning, showing how something might work if it is adopted. Next. Next, we have types of group roles in a group building environment. We have the gatekeeper or expediter. Now, the gatekeeper or expediter ensures that everyone has the opportunity to express themselves by encouraging the reserved and quiet members to offer their opinions themselves, restricts those from who dominate the discourse, and might propose group norms or guidelines to make sure everyone has an opportunity to speak. The encourager. Now, this person acknowledges, affirms, and encourages the efforts of other group members. Warmth and a pleasant attitude are also displayed in meetings. The mediator, settling disputes and making a clear effort to reconcile divergent viewpoints, which is very important in all types of groups. Um, the follower embraces what others say and decide despite the fact that they do not participate in making the choice or express their own opinions. They are viewed as the listener rather than a participant of the group building group. Next, we look at the group norms. Group norms is a component of the idea of a group climate. Climate can be compared to a group's personality. Groups have personalities just like we as individuals do. If you want to give your team a unique personality, it is helpful to think about which social standards will result in those desired outcomes. The relational leadership model, which was mentioned in chapter 3 earlier during the semester, seeks to establish a group whose members are involved. Group norms, yes. Norms outlines the parameters of acceptable and undesirable behavior that group members agree upon. They are often developed to aid in group survival, make behavior more predictable, prevent awkward situations, and convey the group's ideals. Each group will establish its own standards, which may govern anything from how members behave at work to how they dress to how they speak at meetings. Members of a group are under pressure to perform to a certain level and sometimes comply to a group's norms. The group's dedication, drive, and performance are frequently reflected in the group norms. Next slide.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Norms outline the parameters of acceptable. That is that's the same slide, Prasham.
Oh, too wide. Sorry.
Now we look at the creative conflicts in groups. A group's progress may become stalled during the storming stage of a group formation. Any stage of unresolved dispute can produce a hostile and unpleasant atmosphere inside the group, but it can also be a useful tool for enhancing the group's performance. Role conflicts are the best way to resolve by considering what expectations you may have of others or about how your own roles are conflict with their assumptions. Now, conflict can be brought about by many things, such as personality clashes, role conflict, and disagreements over concepts. Now we look at some of the advantages and liabilities of handling of conflict. So, first one, it can increase motivation and energy, and a liability of this can be debilitating. Next one, it clarifies issues and positions, and in this way, in turn of this, it can distract from goal achievement. Next, as an advantage of conflict, it can build internal cohesiveness and esprit de corps. And a liability of this, it can cause defensiveness and rigidity. Also, it can lead to innovation and creativity, which in turn, it can cause distortions of reality. Next, it can cause an increase in self-awareness, but often becomes a negative reinforcing cycle. It may also be a means of dealing with internal conflicts, but it tends to escalate more serious and proliferate or more issues in the group. And lastly, it can lead to more synthesis on ideas of methods, but efforts to resolve are not often reciprocated. The relational leadership model supports approaches to resolving disputes that enhance inclusion and empowerment. A group can establish certain ground rules, that is, group norms, to direct the openness and honesty with which they confront matters of potential conflict. When great people join together, they will have differences of opinions on methods. Now, according to Lapid and Dubois in 1994, these ground principles may establish an environment for safe and diversity. Conflicts are beneficial when they bring up perspectives that a group has to consider before moving toward a solution. It is more crucial to consider a problem from several angles, the more homogeneous a group is. Now, traditional theories of leadership sometimes presuppose that a group or organization has a designated leader who is in charge of making all the decisions. In fact, the positional leader is frequently required to decide on behalf of the group while the group is sharing their ideas, and the positional leader makes a decision for them. The lack of time to host a group meeting or confer with group members and the requirement for the leader to speak on behalf of the group at another meeting, or the leader's assessment that the choice is not significant enough to warrant the group's time and effort are few potential explanations for this. The relational leadership model will be helpful in assisting the positional leader if they must make a personal choice. Now, in doing this, the group leader should ask themselves these questions. Does this decision support our vision and mission? What opinion do my group members have about this issue? Will this issue heighten our involvement limit? And is this the right thing to do, or is it principled or ethical? In formal organizations with positional leaders, the participative
Hello?
hello?
You froze, right? Or
Yeah,
someone disconnected?
I just
Oh,
lost connection. Sorry about that. All right.
no, man.
In formal organizations with positional leaders, participative leadership is often taught to involve the use of decision procedures intended to allow some influence over the leader's decisions. A better decision is made and is more likely to be accepted when individuals involved are involved in the decision making process according to the values of participative leadership. It allows effectively denotes who the positional leader has accountability and who may choose to involve and not involve others. So in terms of the dynamics of a group, we're looking at group decision making. There's evidently conflict in formal context regarding the power and participation of participants in group decision making. Yuko in 1989 identifies a spectrum of four possible decision-making measures. These include autocratic, consultation, joint decision, delegation, and participation. They may range from no influence, in which the authoritarian choice is made, to a strong influence of others in the process, depending on how much of an impact they have on decisions in which the complete delegation has occurred. Now, Johnson in 1994 described five methods of decision making. One, decision by authority without discussion. Two, expert member. Three, average members' opinions. Four, decision by authority after discussion. And lastly, majority control. Now, although each form of decision making have a distinct goal, relational leadership would prioritize consensus models, which, whenever practical, more and more group members demand to participate in decision making, and the relational empowering approach requires participation. Even while positional leaders have the authority to make crucial decisions in an authoritarian way, they discover that doing so alienates employees or group members. A majority vote does not constitute a consensus, nor does a consensus imply that every choice is made by the group. Now, according to Rayner, consensus me- suggests it does not indicate that everyone on the team believes that great possible option has been reached. Consensus building takes far longer than voting or providing comments and asking the leader to make a decision. It is not always simple and can be time consuming process. Now, also offers the following guidelines for reaching consensus within. So, the first one is to clearly define the issue that the team is facing. The second one is to focus on the similarities between the positions, ensure that there is adequate time for discussion, and avoid conflict reducing tendencies such as voting. The next dynamic we'll look at is teamwork. Strength is not in the individuals but in the team. Many organizations have adopted that metaphor and reconceptualized that work unit as a team. This metaphor implications for morale, motivation, support, common purpose, diverse roles, and inclusions. To achieve group roles, one must have the ability to collaborate with others. Leadership is not a sport that can be played alone, so this competency is essential. Having the ability to work well in a team is essential for effective leadership because it allows leaders to achieve worthwhile goals with the help of others. So, in terms of teamwork, we're looking at two aspects, teams and groups. Just as groups do not necessarily consist of a collection of people, neither do all groups consist of teams. According to Carter and Cohen in 2002, a strong group has two qualities. is composed of a proper individual and it exhibits teamwork. Teams have a stronger sense of identity and shared goals or tasks than groups do. Task interdependence is also higher within a team than in a group, and team members typically have more distinct roles than group members. According to Hughes, Ginnett, and Kofi in 1993, who make this distinction, both groups and teams share characteristics of mutual interaction and reciprocal influence. They just differ in other ways. Now, looking at the differences between working groups and teams. Working groups have a strong, clearly focused leader is appointed. The general organizational mission is a group's purpose. Individual work provides the only products. The effectiveness is measured indirectly by the group's influence on others, such as the financial performance of a business, student scores on standardized examinations, etc. And lastly, individual accountability is only evident. Now, whereas in teams, shared leadership responsibilities exist among members, a specific, well defined purpose that is unique to the team, team and individual work develop products. Effectiveness is measured directly by assessing teamwork products, and both team and individual accountability are evident. Lastly, the working group's individual accomplishments are recognized and rewarded. Meetings are efficiently run and last for short periods of time, and in meetings, members discuss, decide, and delegate. Whereas in teams, team celebration, individual efforts that contribute to the team success are recognized and celebrated. Meetings have open-ended discussions and include active problem solving. And lastly, in meetings, members discuss, decide, and do real work together. Now, a team. What is a team? According to Quinn in 1996, it is an enthusiastic group of competent individuals with clearly defined duties associated in a common activity, cooperating harmoniously in trusted relationships, experting personal discipline, and making individual sacrifices for the welfare of a team. Now, Parker, 2003, also defined a team as a group of people with a high degree of interdependence geared toward the achievement of a goal or the completion of a task. Now, in teams, there are different types of teams. There are three types: functional team, self-directed teams, and cross-functional teams. With functional teams frequently resemble hierarchical organizations where the center of power and authority is located. Self-directed teams is typically a group of people who have been given some authority by a manager or leader, but who also have all the necessary technical knowledge and skills to complete a task or a goal. Lastly, the cross-functional team, the team members combine skill sets that no one person possesses, are typically made up of members from a variety of departments, fields, or skill sets. Now, to be successful, teams need to have definite objectives. Teams frequently either take time to create clear, realistic goals, or they do so quickly. In it, with creating goals, they use the SMART criterion, which I am assuming everyone is aware of, which provides an outline for teams to use as they establish their goals. So these are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So, as an example of a SMART goal, which is presented on the slide here, I will increase net revenue by 27% by September 1st in order to become the highest achieving sales team in our region. I will do this by creating weekly milestones for the team to accomplish and communicating our progress to the team for our Wednesday morning meetings. Now, to further explain this, into the SMART goals, this, Prashant, you could just go back to the other slide, please. Thanks. Right. So to further break down this into the SMART goals, so for the specific, this leader wants to create an increase in net revenue by 27% in order to become number one team in the region. Measurable, This goal will be measured through the amount of revenue that the team brings in each week when compared to the same week during the previous year. Attainable, sorry. With the right tools in a place, the goal is attainable. R, increasing net revenue will help this sales of the team will help this sales team get recognized for their efforts and time bound. The deadline for this goal is by September 1st. Next slide. So some critical factors that we need to take into consideration for team success. So you need to disregard organizational boundaries in effort to arrive at the best solution. Be sensitive and responsive to the concerns and considerations of other team members in the design of projects. Understand that common goals and targets are mandatory of all team members. Provide open and frequent risk-free communication. All team members pull their own weight and share common objectives, and also to capitalize on team members' strengths. Next, we look at team learning. Team learning occurs through discussion and reflection on shared experiences. Participants in a team conversation are aware of both the method and the substance of their communication. It is crucial that both teams and groups create ground rules or conventions to handle their inevitable conflicts with decency in order for meaningful understanding to arise. Discussion and dialogue are somewhat distinct activities. Some groups erroneously participate in discussions where participants express their personal opinions with few attempts at genuine understanding. True dialogue approaches with objectives of learning together and undergoing transformation, which will be established by the groups that value collaborative learning. The process of reflection, which involves group thought, include dialogue as well. Now, it is stated here, in a productive work community, leaders are not commanders and controllers, bosses, or big shots. They are servers and supporters and partners and providers. Leaders are also team learners, team learning facilitators in collaborative environments, understanding one's reasons, advocating for one's own interests while being open to hearing other points of views, and finding common ground are all necessary for team learning. Team leadership. Two leadership tasks are team growth and performance. The relational leadership model emphasizes process-oriented team development and purpose-driven leadership, which highlights the significance of both of these roles. According to research on teams, working in a team structures results in increased and improved productivity, innovation, creativity, decision-making, quality, problem-solving, and resource use. The reason why teams fail are also well documented, and bad leadership is frequently blamed. Leaders also must balance the team or group's continuous activities while also attending to internal and external needs of the group. Leaders alternate between monitoring, acting, and focusing on both internal and external group issues. These tasks can be performed by team members as well as, if is frequently the case with more seasoned and mature organizations. Now, here we have some traits of team leadership which have been discovered by numerous researchers and academics. So, according to Hill in 2004, we have clear, elevating goal, which the group believes the goal is worthwhile and it is clear enough to tell when the objectives have been met. 2. Results-driven structure. The group's purpose needs to drive the structure of the team. Competent team members. The group members must possess appropriate technical knowledge and interpersonal skills to work collaboratively as a team. Unified commitment. The group has a sense of identity and level of team spirit that has been intentionally facilitated and developed. Next we have collaborative climate, which all the individuals contribute collectively to the success of the project, and individual accomplishment are integrated into a whole team's effort. 6. Standards of excellence. Standards of excellence are established and clearly understood by the team with the emphasis of everyone performing at highest levels. Principal leadership. The leader establishes priorities and helps the team members stay focused on the goals, sustains collaborative environments for the team, and manages performance. 8. External support. The team is provided with resources such as money, equipment, supplies to accomplish its goals and is given recognition for its successes. Now, team leaders are also entrusted with keeping an eye on the group's development and relationships and acting as necessary. When a team is stuck and unable to go forward, or when an external disagreement arises that the team cannot resolve on its own, leaders are frequently called upon to take action. Now, in addition to this, it might be necessary for the leader to serve as a mediator in disputes. It helps the group to stay focused on its objectives or train the group in interpersonal skills. In some circumstances, the leader encourages an outside role for the group by connecting with other coalitions or disassembling knowledge from outside sources to the group before starting the task that needs to be done. It is critical to assemble a team. Now, Hughes, Ginnett, and Curfey in 1993 also suggest 4 design elements required for teams based on study findings from effective teamwork. First, we have the team structure, in which the team understands its task and finds meaning in it. The team is given an autonomy to accomplish the task. Group boundaries. The size of the team is just right, not too big and not too small. Diversity exists within the team, and the team has sufficient knowledge, information, and interpersonal skills to accomplish the goals harmoniously. Norms. The team has a set of norms to guide the behaviors of team members. And lastly, authority. There is some sort of flexibility rather than a rigid use of authority by the leader and team members that allows some sort of open debate and instills a sense of empowerment and trust, as well as the degree of command when compliance by group members is warranted.
So, for the summary, in this chapter of teams and groups, we have learned that success within a collective is earned and it does not happen overnight. As we have read, to read with integrity is a difficult, long road which includes being in an organizational structure, moral progression of an individual, having the influence of role models and value-driven leadership. Things take time is a perfect statement for someone looking to develop into an ethical person and construct ethical settings. Individuals who seek answers as well as ask questions are seen as leading with moral. It is seen from the relational leadership model entails acting ethically to advance the common good, incorporating other participants in resolving ethical concerns, enabling others to lead by example, and employing a process to approach issues that lack obvious solutions. In this time of day, our society has been for a long time seeking desperately leaders who will take charge and perform the right acts with the trust of the public. It is crucial to lead with a moral purpose for the leadership process. The world would be a much better place if everyone were committed to creating an ethical surrounding by working as a collective in issues as well as rewarding the right acts. Just imagine what our world would become. So these are some of the references we used, and that was the end of our presentation. Thank you everyone for listening.
I hope anyone has any questions to ask, any concerns, anything that they need clarification on. If not, that's the end of our presentation, and thank you for listening. I also apologize for any stumbles I made during my presentation as well.
Okay, if there are no questions, I will pause the recording.